Hello everyone, thank you for joining us here today for our webinar. My name is Jen Newcomb Trinidad and I'm with the marketing team here at Canada Helps, and today I'm happy to be joined by Laurie Fox from the Canadian Association of Gift Planners, or CAGP for short. I'll be introducing Laurie in just a few minutes. Just wanted to get everyone to get settled in. We'll go through a few housekeeping slides in the beginning. This webinar is going to be about tapping into more revenue with estate giving, and Laurie's going to be talking about the Willpower Campaign and how you can access estate giving through the campaign. So just going to go over a few housekeeping slides here. And before we jump into the presentation, we want to acknowledge that our team at Canada Helps here is grateful to have the opportunity to meet and work on many Indigenous homelands across Canada. And as settlers on these lands, we acknowledge that our Vancouver offices are located on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. Our Montreal offices are located on Kanien'kehá:ka Mohawk territory, and the land on which we operate and are broadcasting this webinar from in Toronto today is the traditional territory of the Wendat, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We want to express our respect for the territories we reside in and honor the diverse Indigenous peoples who have lived and worked on this land historically and presently. And the staff here at Canada Helps and leadership are committed to being active participants in reconciliation. We're committed to continue to amplify Indigenous voices and learning how our work affects Indigenous peoples all across Canada. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time in this Canada Helps webinar, welcome. Canada Helps builds innovative technology that empowers all charities to easily fundraise online, as well as connects all Canadians to give to the charities and causes they care about. For charities, we offer open access to a full suite of affordable online giving tools with full donor information, and we also provide educational resources for free, like this webinar, so you can better understand your donors and steward them along their journey. And for your donors, we have offered a convenient, safe, and trusted destination for donating to and fundraising for all registered Canadian charities for 20 years. And to date, almost 3 million Canadians have donated over $1.6 billion through Canada Helps, and more than 24,000 charities rely on Canada Helps fundraising tools to build capacity. So that's just a little bit about us. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Laurie Fox from the CAGP to get us started with today's webinar. Laurie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Just going to share my screen here. Pleasure to be here. My name is Laurie Fox. As Jen mentioned, I'm the campaign director for Willpower, which I'm going to go into in just a little bit. And I work with the Canadian Association of Gift Planners. So let me talk to you a little bit about the Canadian Association of Gift Planners for those who aren't familiar on the call today. The CAGP is a national professional association that brings together both charitable fundraisers as well as financial advisors, lawyers, notaries, who work to increase strategic giving or planned giving with their communities and with their donors. We do a number of different things at the CAGP. We're probably best known for our planned giving education. We have a series of courses training charities and advisors on how to do strategic giving, so talking about gifts and wills, talking about giving through life insurance or RRSPs, for example, or gifts of securities, all types of gifts that can help the average donor give more, do more for their cause or their charity. We also do a series of networking and mentorship at our different chapters across the country. We have a national conference that we've just finished, a very popular national conference that we do once a year. We're involved with advocacy with the government as well to make sure that we have the most favorable tax regime in Canada for people, ordinary individuals, to give in big ways through charity. And then what we're going to be speaking about today is public awareness. So the campaign actually is our public awareness initiative at CAGP, the Willpower Campaign. And the whole opportunity here with planned giving, the whole idea behind what we're trying to do here is tap into an untapped source of funds. We have a huge opportunity before us with gifts and wills. The average individual leaving 1 or 2% of their estate that typically results in a $30,000 to $50,000 gift to charity. It's not unusual for small, medium-sized charities to see six-figure gifts from ordinary individuals, ordinary donors within their base through gifts and wills. But the problem is that we haven't really tapped into this opportunity in Canada. This campaign that I'll be talking about is actually based on campaigns that are done across the world. They've been at it a lot longer than us, and they have something like 17% of their population leaving a gift in their will. And for a lot of charities, this means that 30% of their revenues are coming from legacy gifts. So before we get into the campaign, I did want to talk a little bit about the research that informed the campaign. Research that is useful for all of us, charities and advisors across the country when speaking to donors about gifts and wills. And so what we wanted to know was, well, what was the lay of the land here in Canada? How do Canadians act? How do Canadians feel about gifts and wills and other types of planned gifts? So we started by asking the question, well, is it a will writing issue? Do Canadians not write their wills, and that's where we need to start? And we found unequivocally that that is not the issue. By the time Canadians are 75 years old, almost 95% of them have written their wills. So Canadians do get around to writing their wills. And then we asked ourselves, well, is there an awareness issue? Do Canadians simply not know that they can give in this way? And we found that, no, that's not really the issue either. 86% of Canadians are aware that they can give a gift in their will or another type of strategic gift. So awareness is not something that we would focus on either, not something that we suggest charities focus on in their communications with their donors. But the biggest barrier we found by far is that Canadians are immediately rejecting the concept of gifts and wills because in their mind, it's this either or barrier. Either I can support my family with my will or I can support a charity, but I can't do both, which of course is not true. So in the campaign and in your donor communications, that's the biggest barrier that you need to get over. That is the first thing that you need to do in communicating with your donors in order to move to a case to be made for a gift to your charity. We found that once donors do get over that barrier, do get over that either or barrier, about 31% are interested and quite interested. The idea, an advisor explained it to me like this, the idea of showing a donor, showing a client that you can do more with what you have is actually quite appealing. The smile that comes over people's faces when they realize that they have the power to give these 5- to 6-figure gifts, ordinary individuals, is quite heartening to see. So we find that once people do realize that this is something they can do, they're quite interested. But there's still this general inertia that we see that only 5% of Canadians are actually leaving that gift in their will. And the reason is, we took a little bit of a look into this, and the reason is that they're not speaking to their spouses or having the conversation with their spouses. They're having a hard time choosing their charities. And when it comes time to actually writing or revising their will with their advisor, charitable giving is simply not top of mind. So moving people to action is a lot of what we're trying to do in the campaign and a lot of the focus of what you should be doing in your in communicating with donors as well. So though this is not the purpose of the webinar today, I did want to go over some tips for starting the conversation because I saw in some of the questions that were sent earlier that there was a lot of curiosity about how to start the conversation with the donor. And this can be really simple. Planned giving, asking for a gift in a will is something that's usually done quite high level. It's usually a conversation about people's values, and their long-term history with an organization. So a few tips to starting the conversation with a donor. If you're speaking with a donor one-on-one, for example, you can frame this in terms of their lifetime commitment to the organization. Your donors who've been loyal to you are most likely your best case or your best donors for gifts and wills and other types of strategic gifts. So when speaking with these donors, you might want to talk about what prompted them to start giving to your organization. Why have they been giving for so long? What matters to them? And in the light of that, have you ever considered a gift in your will to continue your giving, to continue the investment that you've made to our cause? Another idea, another conversation starter that works really well when you're speaking one-on-one with your donors is the use of donor stories. So simply when you're having the conversation, bringing up the fact that, well, I was speaking with one of my other donors the other day, and they told me that they're doing something really unique and really meaningful. They've decided to leave a gift in their will, and you can continue along those lines. But for many of you on the call who are dipping your toes into plan giving, really the best way to start is through your marketing communications. Plan giving really happens in the other sphere. A lot of donors like to hear about it, they like to explore it on their own, but rarely do they actually reveal their intentions to the charity. I think the stat is 2 out of 10 bequests that come to your charity aren't known to your charity. So the best way for you to get the message out there really is through marketing, at least to start the conversation. So some small things you can do to get started is making sure you have some communications, some plan giving communications on your website. You can take a look around at other charities to see the kind of messaging they put on their website. Having some little PSs or check boxes that go out in your other donor communications is a good idea. And newsletters, sharing donor stories or sharing stories of impact related to legacy gifts is another good way of planting the seed, as we say. And then really the topic of this webinar today is using willpower to start your plan giving program. With this campaign, we essentially have created plan giving in a box for you. So with that, I would like to jump into the Willpower Campaign, how it works, how it's going to launch across Canada, and how charities like you would participate. So Willpower is really the biggest effort in our history to make gifts and wills a social norm. This is a cross-country effort pulling together charities, lawyers, advisors, everybody who touches estates and charitable giving. Our goal in the next 10 years is to move from that 5% of Canadians leaving a gift in their will to 8.5% of Canadians leaving a gift in their will. And I know that seems like a small percentage increase, but that's $40 billion to charity that trickles down to your charities. That's the value of legacy gifts. That's the value of these gifts and wills. I mentioned at the beginning that the average gift in a will is somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000, depending on where you live. Getting a small percentage more of Canadians to give in this way really helps provide for more social good in this country. And this goal is actually based off of the UK campaign that managed to move the dial forward 3.5% in their first 10 years. And as I mentioned at the beginning, 20 years later, they're now at 20% or 17% of their population leaving a gift in their will. So we know that there's success here, but it takes investment early on. And so the willpower marketing, as you can see, is really trying to get over that either-or barrier. We want to show Canadians that you can leave a gift in your will to your loved ones, your grandson, for example, but also a small percentage to your charity of choice. You don't have to do both. And what's great is that we actually tested this message. We tested this marketing across country last May, so during COVID and everything, and it tested through the roof. We found that Canadians who saw this ad, 20% of people who weren't originally interested are now interested. And 83% of people who are kind of lukewarm are now more likely to take action. So we know that we have some marketing that works. It's just about getting it out into the population. And then something we learned in our test campaign last year, which is a good learning lesson that we're passing on to some of our charity partners as well, is that it's not enough just to send that one message. And it's not enough to simply ask someone to consider a gift in your will. That's a really large commitment to ask someone to take. And for such what can be a complex concept for people, what's most important is that you break things down into small steps that lead up to the big action. And that's what we do a lot in the campaign and what we pass on to our charity partners in the campaign as well. And I'll be talking about that when I talk about the marketing toolkit that we provide. And a lot of this is done in the digital space. So we do marketing and we'll be doing marketing in your communities very much online. We want to target our audience, which are boomers, 55 to 74. We want to target them at the right time when they're thinking about their estate And most people do research online before actually acting on their estate. And then we want to remarket to them. We want to continue to send messages, these small steps that lead up to big action online. And so 70 to 75% of the campaign is done digitally, will be done digitally in your communities. So we have video on YouTube, for example, Facebook, we do Facebook advertising, banner ads that are on different websites. Google search is a big avenue for us. Paid advertising, meaning that we will have articles in your local newspapers, for example. In some key cities across the country, we'll have billboards. And PR is a big channel for us as well. So you'll see a lot of organic news stories in your local breakfast television, for example, talk radio, or your local publications. And then we have an email journey as well for those people in the public who sign up to Willpower for more information. So all of this marketing is happening in your community. It's happening in your marketing place, happening in your in the marketplace. And what is great is it's providing you cover to have these conversations with donors. It's the campaign itself is opening up the concept of gifts and wills, getting people over that barrier, educating them and moving them towards action, which helps with your conversation with donors. And all of this pushes to the Willpower website, which I encourage you to take a look at. We don't have time today, but take a look at willpower.ca. Right now it's built for our test audience in Southwestern Ontario, but it will be built out for across country this coming September. And the Willpower website is really a one-stop shop for people, moving them from beginning to end when it comes to leaving a gift in their will. They can explore gifts and wills, what it means to leave a gift in your will. They can explore all the tax implications. They can contact an advisor, add a charity to their list, and then use that list to contact a lawyer to get started. So this website is really meant to prompt people to action, and it features our charities and our advisors in the campaign. So let me talk a little bit about our test campaign last year. I think some of you who are perhaps on the webinar with Canada Helps last year heard that we were piloting this campaign for the first time in the Niagara Golden Horseshoe in Southwestern Ontario. We wanted to test the campaign in this small area, and we did it for only a period of 6 weeks before we launched across Canada this year. And what we saw were some really impressive results. We saw 18 million impressions, meaning people were seeing the campaign, seeing the ads, seeing the articles, and seeing them again. We had 53,000 people actually engaging with Willpower, so clicking through to the website and taking action on the website. And then a lot of interest in local newspapers and local media as well. You can see examples of some of our additional Willpower advertising on the side here. And what's great is that we actually saw a lot of engagement. Like I said, we had about 47,000 visits to the website, but what's most important here is that we saw almost a third of users returning of their own accord. So what this means is people were coming to the Willpower website, they were using the legacy calculator to see what it means to leave a gift in their will to both loved ones and charity. There's an example over here. They were adding charities to their list. They were reading articles on the website, clicking through to advisors. So they found that it was useful, and they were coming back and coming back again to start taking action. Because we know the timeline for estate planning for legacy giving is long. People aren't going to do it in one shot. It usually takes anywhere from 10, 12, sometimes 20 years for people to actually leave that gift in their will. And then I think what's most important for most of us on the call is we saw 1,700 actions in our campaign period last year. So by actions, I mean we're seeing a continuum of people moving from interest to consideration on the website. They were using the legacy calculator, contacting an advisor to explore their estate, adding a charity to their list, and clicking through to a lawyer to get started. We heard anecdotally from some of our advisors in the campaign last year as well that they were starting to see clients come to them, starting to specifically mentioning Willpower and starting to plan their estate. So we know those gifts and wills are actually happening now as well. 6 weeks is a little early to see a lot of just to have people, change their minds and actually write their wills and include a gift, but it is starting to happen, which was really heartening to see. So that's the campaign in a nutshell, the broader campaign in a nutshell. But I want to talk now about how this campaign can actually help you in your legacy fundraising, in your estate giving. So first off, I just want to make the point, and I think it's probably clear to you, the whole purpose of this campaign is to grow the pool of donors that are interested in giving in this way. We want to move from 5% to 8.5%. That means more donors more legacy donors for you. And that $40 billion trickles down to your charities. So ultimately, the benefit of being part of this campaign is more revenue. But because legacy giving is such a long timeline, we also know that we want to provide immediate benefits to you for being part of this campaign as well. So as I mentioned, the Willpower Campaign is really meant to be kind of a plan giving in a box for charities to start their plan giving programs. And so you can see charities participate in a variety of different ways. The first way that charities participate is simply by being part of the website where we're pushing traffic, where we're driving traffic. So charities have their own page on the website where we drive our market. And you can see in 2020, in the pilot campaign, charities were most definitely explored as people were exploring gifts and wills. We drove over 10,000 visits to charity pages. These were the third most popular pages on the website. On average, the charities were seeing about 124 visits on the page and 12 actions taken. So for example, you can see the actions being adding a charity to their list and clicking through to get started with your lawyer. Other actions, other things that we're including on the charity pages this year, you can send your donors there, or we'll be sending donors there to calculate what it looks like to leave a gift in your will, to both charities and loved ones. The second way in which charities participate in the campaign is with the marketing toolkit. So this is a way for you to leverage the campaign, leverage the noise that we're making in your market, in your communities, to speak to your own donors. So we provide you this marketing toolkit, which has a variety of different things in it. There's a series of 5 template communications that are written for both email as well as social media that you can use. These are these small steps that I was talking about to encourage your donors to lead up to that big commitment of leaving a gift in their will. So there you have your donor communications. With that, we provide you the accompanying creative. So there's a way to create your own Willpower themed ad. You can co-brand on some of the infographics that we provide for you to send out to your donors with these communications as well. We also provide a number of different things in the marketing toolkit should you want to mix and match. So for example, there's a campaign video that you can use. We provide you with key messaging, as well as brand guidelines and the logos should you want to put something on your website or in your newsletter on the back of an event invite or a tax receipt, for example. So the marketing toolkit is another way in which charities participate in the campaign. And then lastly, charities who participate in the campaign have the opportunity for some plan giving development, some professional development. One, you're connected with other charities, financial advisors, and lawyers in the campaign, individuals who, like you, are interested in developing their plan giving programs or might have already developed their plan giving programs. And you meet your fellow advisors and charities at the campaign kickoff and at the debrief events. So there's a good opportunity for mentorship, but also connecting with your local lawyers and financial advisors to help keep top of mind when they're speaking to clients. Charity partners also receive 1 free CAGP membership, and there's a ton of benefits to being part of CAGP, including the Plan Giving for Canadians resource, which has a lot of information and templates for you to use in your plan giving programs. And I think probably what's pretty important for most of our charities in the campaign is that we also provide a 2-hour session on plan giving, how to start your plan giving program, some of the gift planning vehicles to use or to speak about, and best practices in speaking to donors about gifts and wills. So some of that, those tips that I mentioned at the beginning, we'll be going into in depth in that 2-hour session. And so the fees to participate in the campaign are here. The 2021 is the last year to join as a founding member in this campaign. Founding members are taking the first steps on this journey with us as we launch this campaign across Canada. And we want to thank you with a 15% discount in the campaign that you get year over year as long as you're a partner in the campaign. And what's wonderful is that our partnership with Canada Helps has afforded you a further 5% discount. So charities on the call today can apply a discount code for a further 5% discount through Canada Helps. Through our website, but thanks to Canada Helps to reduce the cost, to reduce the fees. And the way we calculate fees is based on the size of your organization. So we would take a look at your total fundraising revenue, for example. We look at individual donations, corporate philanthropy, event revenue and gift in kind. We don't look at government grants, and we don't look at any earned revenue like membership or interest, for example. And if you're curious, you can contact me. I can help you calculate your fee, or you can take a 3-year average of these CRA lines down here. So these would be the fees with your 15% discount. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline before we launch into Q&A here. The deadline to register for the 2021 campaign is May 31st. To register for the campaign, I'll show you in a minute, simply involves going to the CAGP website. After May 31st, we spend time with our partners getting them ready for the campaign, which launches in September. So we'll do the training in June. We provide you with access to your Willpower page, so you can create your own page on the Willpower website. Really simple to do. It's a template that you would follow. We provide you with a marketing toolkit and instructions on how to use the marketing toolkit. And we have office hours during the summer as well, where you can drop in and ask questions anytime. The campaign then launches in full in September. We do a really big push in September. That's where you'll see a lot of the PR efforts. And then we have low-key marketing between October and May the following year. So the campaign goes throughout, almost throughout the year. To sign up to the campaign, simply click on this link, which will provide you with the slides afterwards. At the top of your, you click join as a charity, and at the top of the registration form, you would enter in this code, which would get your Canada Helps 5% discount. So big thanks to Canada Helps for partnering with us on this campaign and providing that 5% discount to their charities, to your charities. Right, so that's the campaign. Happy to take any questions, but really just want to thank you for your curiosity, for discovering, for learning a little bit more about Willpower, what we're trying to do here. I hope it's helpful in understanding what's coming, this movement that's coming to your communities this September. If you have any questions, of course, please feel free to reach out to myself or my colleague Khalil. We'll be happy to jump on a call. But at this point, Jen, I think we can probably open it up for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So Laurie, I'm just going to jump right into some questions here from the audience about the campaign. So I've got a question here from Tina. What about communities that don't have a CAGP chapter? I guess how they could get started on this campaign.
You don't need to be part of the CAG chapter to participate in this campaign. You can join the campaign whether you're a CAGP member or not. All you need to do is register here, and then you can become part of your CAGP chapter or the closest CAGP chapter, but irregardless, you still get the benefits of the campaign.
Great, thank you, Laurie. Some more campaign questions. When will you add info for other provinces to the website for Willpower? This question is from Kelly.
Yeah, in a short 2 weeks, we are just building out the campaign website to launch across Canada. So we'll be, we're in the process of just getting that ready in the next 2 weeks. It will be ready, the campaign will be launching in full in your communities though in September. So we've got some leeway, we've got some time there to perfect the campaign before it launches in your community.
Great, thank you. A question here from Vanessa about the campaign page. How does the send a message to your lawyer button work? Are there lawyers listed? Does the donor enter their lawyer's email address, or what do lawyers do with these messages?
A little bit of both. So an individual can enter in the information of their own lawyer if they choose to use their own lawyer, or they can search for lawyers who are part of the campaign. This message is essentially on the back end is an email that's sent to lawyers with a bit of information on where this is coming from and Willpower, so there's a bit of an education for lawyers there. And this message is meant to start the conversation, to prompt the conversation with their client. So from there on, that's where the estate planning conversation happens. The lawyer gets in touch with the client.
Great, thank you. I see a couple of similar questions here regarding charity size in joining the campaign. Is this set up regionally as a smaller charity would get lost in the volume of charities? As an example, Canadian Cancer Society is better recognized than we are. This question is from Susan.
Sorry, Jen, I didn't hear the question too well. Would you mind repeating?
Promotions for the campaign, is it set up regionally? And this concern is for smaller charities who might get lost in the volume of other charities as part of the campaign.
If I understand correctly, there might be kind of two questions in there, so I'll just separate and answer them each individually. So you can participate as a national charity, as a regional charity, or as a charity that just operates in one city, for example. The campaign benefits will be for all charities, regardless of whether or not you're national, regional, or just local. This campaign, we call it a national campaign, but it's really pan-Canadian. So it's happening in each community. So let's take, Medicine Hat, for example. We'll be in Medicine Hat marketing to the public in Medicine Hat. So for charities in Medicine Hat, Alberta, we will be in Medicine Hat, Alberta, featuring those charities and featuring those advisors in your area. So I think that hopefully that answers the first part of that question. The second part of that question, I think, is will smaller charities get lost in a sea of big charities? I think that's where the marketing toolkit comes in. Certainly, big charities that have that brand awareness, we can't deny that most likely those will be the ones that are recognized first on the website. But what's great is that people can actually search by cause. So your cause will also pop up. And depending on, how you do your charity page, that will certainly be something of interest to people, and they might want to explore your charity. We are predicting around 200 charities participating in the campaign this year, which across country actually isn't that much. So it's a good year to sign up to the campaign because you won't be in a sea of charities this year. So it's a good way to get your brand out there alongside, maybe some of the big names. But the marketing toolkit, as I mentioned, is really a way for you to leverage the campaign, really a way for you to speak about the campaign to your base. We found last year that, we had a mix of small and large charities in the campaign. We found that some small charities, they were able to get more clicks on their page, more people taking action on their page by leveraging the marketing toolkit than the bigger charities who didn't use the marketing toolkit. So the marketing toolkit really is your key to success here. I hope that answers the question. And that actually, Jen, kind of just makes me think of something I didn't mention in the presentation. Just going back to the charity page here, you actually have admin access to your page, so you can see the metrics on your page. You can see your progress in the campaign in real time. You can measure how many people are coming to your page, if they're coming back, and what actions they're taking.
Great, thank you, Laurie. That was one of the questions that came up actually is do charities see the metrics and who has clicked on the Willpower website? So thank you for showing that. Lots of questions piling up here, but we'll try to get through a few more. This question's from Katie. Can you sign up after the September deadline?
So our deadline for charities to sign up is May 31st. The reason we want charities to sign up May 31st is there is some training to do. There is some prep to do to get ready for September. Signing up after September really means that you're going to miss out on most of the benefits of the campaign. You're going to miss out on the training, and you're probably going to miss out on that big push in September as well. You can sign up after September. I guess I would recommend that you wait till the next year, I guess.
Thank you, Laurie. Thanks for clarifying that. A few more questions. If a charity joins nationally, can donors still select the provincial arm they may want to support?
That's an interesting question. So we have charities I think it depends on the type of charity that or national or regional charity that you're a part of. So I'm going to kind of highlight two situations here. We have charities like the Red Cross or Salvation Army, for example, which is one charity which has regional arms across Canada, but one charitable registration number. So the Red Cross or Salvation Army are participating as one charity, and everything gets filtered into one common, one centralized area that's, one centralized individual, and that will be trickled down, I guess, to the regional arms. And then we have other charities like the YWCA, for example, which is, there's a Canada office, and then there's separate charities underneath. So each YWCA has its own charitable registration number. And in that case, we actually have some special pricing for charities that fit that bill. So for a national charity that has different charities with different charitable registration numbers underneath, you can actually participate for the one fee, and then your individual charity offices participate for $450. So that's what some of our charities like YWCA are taking advantage of. And then each charity under the national brand gets their own page, gets their own training, gets their own membership, etc. So that's kind of an exception, and I would suggest just contacting me if that's your exception. We can talk that through.
Great, thank you, Laurie. And just checking on your capacity for time here. Are you okay going through 3-4 questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Just wanted to check. This question is from Reginald. What about bilingual charities? Any support there?
What about, sorry?
Bilingual charities for
bilingual charities. Yes, well, I apologize, we did not include the French on this webinar. This was an English webinar, but I think Canada Helps is sending out a link to our French webinar afterwards. This campaign is done in French too. So we have a French version called Volonté de Faire that we're also working on to get ready for September. So charities in Francophone Canada can also participate in this campaign. We'll have the French website, you'll have your French page, French marketing toolkit, French training, and everything.
Great, thank you. Question here from Cindy. Who contacts the local financial advisors and lawyers to help them to promote your charity?
So part of the role of CAGP and the Willpower Campaign is to recruit advisors to the campaign, and simply in the financial planning and in the legal spheres, try and encourage people to have these conversations with their clients, to do these prompts with their clients. That's kind of the bigger role of CAGP. So we're recruiting clients to the campaign. They'll be part of the campaign, but just the nuance here. So advisors most likely or shouldn't be recommending one charity to their clients. So it would never be the purview of an advisor to recommend your charity, for example. It's good to stay top of mind with an advisor should they have a conversation with their client and their client wants to know, well, I want to give to an animal charity. Do you know of any animal charities in my area? But yeah, it's not recommended that you kind of reach out to an advisor to try and ask them to promote your charity.
Great. Thank you, Laurie. I'll ask 2 more questions here. This question is, why is 2021 the last year to be a founding partner?
Well, after 2021, we'll have done our first launch across Canada. So founding partners are really, we'll call them angel investors. We'll call you guys people who are taking these first steps on the journey with us. And there's going to be some bumps in the road, and we want to thank you with that discount. After 2021, I think we'll probably have the lay of the land. We'll probably have the first campaign, national campaign under our belt. This is really an incentive for people to join early, to be these investors and investors in innovation with us.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to throw in one last question here, and folks, it's I'll be sending out a follow-up with the slide with the Laurie's contact information, so you can ask more in-depth questions there after the webinar. But this last question is from Charlotte. What would be required of a charity to participate in the campaign?
This is a good question, and one I get a lot because we are all very scarce on time these days. So Charlotte, I assume that's kind of what you're leading at. So there's a number of things to consider if you're a charity and want to be part of the Willpower Campaign. I think first you should make sure that you're at that place where you want to start a plan giving program, or you want to start an estate giving program, and of course your executive, your team has bought in. The other thing I would consider is, do you have an established donor base? A lot of people who, or your top donors, as I mentioned at the beginning, who are considering gifts and wills are those who've been with your organization for a long time. The next thing I would consider is, do you have a full-time fundraiser or full or half-time marketing person? Because this is very much a marketing campaign that you would put into practice. And as far as time goes, it's pretty easy to create your Willpower webpage. We provide you with the admin access, so a code to access your page, and you simply fill out a few categories and upload some imagery. That shouldn't take too long. I'd say maybe a day or 2 or 3 max. The marketing toolkit might take a little bit longer depending on how you use it. So if you want to use those 5 template communications that are in the marketing toolkit and tweak them, then that might take, a week or 2 depending on what your internal approvals are. And to create the imagery, you don't need any special software. You don't need any special marketing know-how, but you can use the editing software on your computer, for example, just to upload the imagery. So I feel like I've kind of packed a lot of things into that question, but I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laurie. And that was a great question. A good way to end the presentation here. So folks, thank you for joining us. And Laurie, thank you so much for this presentation on Willpower and giving this as an opportunity for charities to join in. Hoping to do this again with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So everyone, just look out for the follow-up email. The discount code will be in there. Really hoping you can take advantage of the additional 5% discount for signing up for Willpower. So just take a look out for that in the next couple of hours. And we'll see you at the next webinar. Thank you.